from a human being, a mental well-being, a general holistic health point of view that you want above average to represent? Because it means more to you now than it did when you started the channel, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know because what I've got, the way I've approached people getting from me motivation or inspiration or any positive-ation of their choice is that on a one-to-one basis, I'm genuinely interested in people upping their game. So when people contact me and they email me and say, whatever, I was £400 and now I'm £200 and I've watched your videos and it's all because of you, and yeah. I love that, and I correspond with those people. That's the best part of the job, if you can even call it a job, is hearing those sort of stories. I love that, but society. Sometimes people say to me, often on podcasts, "How do we fix society? How do we get society fit and healthy?" And I think society is fucked. There is it's kind of game over. We are just going to progress to a sort of a Wall-E state, that kids movie where everyone's just kind of floating around in giant fat kind of blobs themselves, and robots are doing everything, because that's where we're heading. I thought when we had the pandemic, I thought, well, the good thing is that we're going to come out of this with more in tune with our health, mental and physical. We're going to be more interested in being in shape, because not being in shape has clearly some poor outcomes here. And we've come out of it, worse than we ever were. And there are a number of people that are far more intense about their health and fitness than they ever were. And that creates the illusion as though suddenly everyone's into their health and fitness, but they're not. You've got a very small number of people being very, very vocal about what they're doing. Yeah, I'm a high rocks, and they're very loud about it. That's amazing. That's great. But the majority of people are simply more and more unhealthy year on year. And I don't think that's changeable. I mean, because the only way you can change it is with massive, massive, massive government interference, for want of a better word. And I don't know if you'd even want that or how they'd go about it, but it's slightly irrelevant because they have no interest in doing it. So it's neither here nor there. If the government cared about health and fitness, they would do a whole bunch of things they don't do. So society is on a downward trend as far as their health and fitness goes. My message, therefore, kind of goes out to these select few people that are watching what I'm doing, and therefore it can be above average, because it's kind of like I'm saying to them, look, the rest of the world is kind of going to pot. You can just stand aside from that and be above average. But people sometimes think that some people say to me, everyone can't be above average because then it wouldn't be average. Yeah, that isn't what's happening. The majority of people aren't listening to anything I'm saying. They aren't listening to anything that anybody's saying. The average person is going downhill. So my message has always been to the people that are pricking up their ears to what I'm saying, or anybody is saying that's motivating them, is for them to sort of step outside the norm and to elevate themselves to being above average. It isn't a kind of a message that's out there to the population as a whole, because I think that's a lost cause. One of the things I miss feeling above average. I remember going to a school parents' day a few years ago, and this will sound ridiculous, but I remember sitting there waiting for my turn to speak to one of my kids' teachers. And I look around at all the other dads and mums in their 40s and 50s, and it crossed my mind, never having done any sort of physical combat sports in my life, I thought, if it all kicks off in here, for whatever reason, I could take every one of these parents. That I'm the alpha male here. Luckily, it didn't kick off because it was a school parents' evening.
Strange, yeah.
Indeed, yeah. And I enjoy that. I enjoy walking around town and thinking, goodness me, the state of so many people, but not me. When I'm sat in the cinema last night, busy cinema, loads of people walking in, and I'm just thinking, goodness me, they're all kind of coming in with their nachos and their popcorn. And I thought, do you know what? I wish I was sat here feeling a little bit more jacked than I normally am, because I don't feel that sense of superiority, and that's not in a kind of a big-headed way.
Well, it comes from empathy. It comes from empathy, I think, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean, I suppose in terms of being successful on YouTube, if everybody, I mean, the empathy only goes so far, because would you like everyone to be like that? No, because that then kind of takes away my unique selling point.
I guess more from the fact that you've been there and you understand the behavior, you understand that it isn't as simple as, oh, calories in, calories out. That is the science, but the behavior that inputs the science is not. It's you have been in the shoes of the people that you are reflecting upon, having maybe fallen back into some of the behaviors that you recognize in the past and can see in them. And therefore you're in a pretty unique position to be able to observe and assess what micro in specific setting changes from an individual point of view changes could be made. Obviously societal level is a totally different thing, but I think your perspective is very unique.
That's where it gets tricky, because the problem is I never have a problem with an individual making poor eating choices, because I understand that it is so much more complicated and simply hard to fix than people that just say, hey, thermodynamics, it's easy. That is shouting at alcoholics, just drink less wine, and thinking you've solved the problem, which obviously doesn't work. So I have sympathy. I don't see people and think, oh, you gluttonous pig, what's wrong with you? That isn't my thought. My thought process is, I see no way of on scale getting lots of people to fix themselves. I don't know how you do that, because that's a good example. They come in the cinema last night. Everyone's walking in there with I have a black coffee. It's a late showing. I want a coffee to stay awake, so I buy a black coffee. So that's what I'm consuming. Jen has a latte, and everyone around us is eating nachos and they're eating popcorn. It's 10 o'clock at night. So I'm assuming they've eaten already. No one needs to eat nachos at 10 o'clock at night. We're not leaving the place till gone midnight. So they're eating when they should be in bed, stuffing themselves. The adverts that come on before the film starts is for just junk food. One of them was an advert for McDonald's, and it's kids dancing around in a McDonald's as though that's a good thing. And it just makes you think, what hope is there for people at large when this is what they're presented with? This is the norm, and so above average. Anyone that thinks, do you know what? I like the idea of not being like what most people are being like at the moment. Come listen to the channel. There's a place for you there, but it is not. Sometimes people think I'm trying to spread the word far and wide. Pointless exercise. I'm spreading the word to people that go, I'd like to hear that.